Delaware County Commissioner meeting to order. It's Monday, April 17th. Time is 9:05. I'd like for everyone to stand. We'll have a moment of silence for our longtime council member, Jane Lassiter, an icon for Delaware County, and she will be truly missed. So let's have a moment of silence for her, and then we'll go right into the pledge. Jane will be missed by all of us. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ed, could you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Henry.
Here.
Mr. King. Here. Ms. Reagan.
Present.
Mr. Brook. Here.
Very good. We're going to start out the meeting with a public hearing for the rail spur. Is there anybody here to speak about that?
Let me just explain what this is, so give it some context. Brad Bookout has been working very hard to try and get some business for the rail spur that was put in back in 2014. And he was approached by a company, SRM, Smyrna Ready Mix, about utilizing the rail. Since this was money that was granted by the Economic Development Administration of the United States Department of Commerce, it has to be in our possession and control for 15 years. So that expires in 2029. So we have a long-term lease with Smyrna Ready Mix to take over that particular property. You have a copy of the lease in your folders. And then at the end, there will be a, if they exercise the option to purchase the rail spur, at that point, the county's contribution was about $1.5, $1.8 million for the construction of this rail spur. This lease is going to net the county out about $3.5 million. So we're going to basically double the money the county put into this particular rail spur for this particular project. So what you're having a public hearing on is two things. One, a long-term lease, and then purchase agreement at the end of the lease in 2029.
Very good. Is there anyone here else to speak about the rail spur? Hearing none,
I got one.
Oh, good. Go ahead, sir.
Rick Yenser, Muncie, newsman and author. I heard about this deal last month. It seemed to be legal and adequate, but there are a couple of questions I had about a long-term lease and whether you're going to give away more property or infrastructure like you did the jail not that long ago, and what benefit this has to taxpayers in general. Taxpayers have spent millions on this industrial park that has come and gone, and I still don't understand why it doesn't go, because you look down the road at Flagship and Anderson and it's booming. I don't want to see any more giveaway of taxpayer money or taxpayer property in this deal, and I've had some others talk about why we're bringing in a national company that might compete with IMI, who is a regional concrete supplier in this community. And again, I can mention it later, but maybe taxpayers need some relief in all these economic development deals that you spent millions and borrowed more. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion to close the public hearing in a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes. Next, we have appointments to the Travel and Tourism Commission.
We have 3 openings, and I have talked to a Sally Piper, and she's willing to serve if we would place her on there. It's 9 o'clock on a Friday, which is tough for a lot of people, but she is retired and willing to serve. And
You want to put that into a motion and I'll second it?
so moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Sally Piper to the Travel Tourism Board. Roll call, please.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Ms. Henry.
Yes. Next, we have the approval of minutes from April 3rd, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Ms. Henry.
Yes. Next, we have presentations to the Commissioner, Delaware County Fairgrounds, Mr. Dan White. Dan called me last week and made a presentation to me over the phone, and I wanted him to come to the Commissioner meeting so we could make it all official.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Shannon. Dan White with the Delaware County Fair. We were brought to us were Pablo and Daniel Garcia. Themselves and their family own a business here in town, and I want them to talk briefly about it. We won't take up too much of your time, but what they're going to do is donate a building to our fairgrounds, and we're primarily going to use that for storage for the 4-H. In return, I'm going to give them some sponsorship benefits. So Daniel or Pablo, if you want to tell what we're getting from Direct Structures.
So Dan and I agreed on it's a 24 wide by 26 long building, 9 foot tall. The color scheme would match the current buildings at the fairground. It would have an overhead door and a walk-in door, like a man door. And it would be fully enclosed, of course, that they would be able to use, all year long for anything that the 4-H needed. And it's just, we thought the fair would be a good place to start, kind of getting ourselves more involved in the community.
So I can bring it to you and asking for your blessing to accept this donation. I don't know if you're familiar with the John Wright park out there. We have tables so the people can eat food during the fair. We're going to put it on that corner to the right of it. It's a real nice visible area. And then we'll have Direct Structures, their name on top of it. And then during the week of the fair, if Daniel and their family and Pablo want to come out, pass out brochures or whatever, they're more than welcome to do that.
Yeah, this
So-
is a,
That's all I had, and I appreciate your time.
we're always looking for businesses that want to help us, and we can help them sell their.
They have just moved in and purchased the Teamster building on the bypass.
Oh,
They
okay.
purchased all the blue buildings all the way down that side of the road.
Oh, welcome to Delaware County.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
for your
Thank
time.
you, guys, and we
Appreciate
appreciate your donation to the fairgrounds. Thank you.
For your time, Commissioner.
John, do we need a motion to approve that?
Probably wouldn't hurt since it's being added as a structure onto the county property.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion for approval and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Ms. Henry.
Yes. Thank you again very much. Next, we have juvenile probation electronic monitoring. Mr. Hansard.
Morning, Commissioners. Jeff Hansard, Chief Probation Officer. I'm here today to discuss the need for consideration for the Commissioners to discuss the cost of the juvenile electronic monitoring. Also wanted to provide an update to the Commissioners on our JUMP program, Judicial Users Manufacturing Partnership. So I don't know if you want me, I'd like to go ahead and start with the JUMP update real quick, if that's okay.
That's fine.
All right, thank you. As the commissioners may know, we started the JUMP program in January of this year. That's an internal jobs program that we are running out of the Adult Probation Department and the wider judicial system to get individuals that are involved with the court system or probation or child support court, so forth, employment with local manufacturers who have a need for employees. So I have with us today Emily Stoltz, who is the JUMP program coordinator, and she'll provide everyone a quick update how that program's going.
Good morning. As Jeff said, my name's Emily Stoltz. I'm the coordinator for the JUMP program, and I'm just going to give a quick little update on how we're doing so far. So the program started in January, and it's been growing a lot since January. I think we passed out a report from last month in March where we had around 131 active cases. A month later, now we have 157. So it's growing pretty steadily every month. We're still looking for more manufacturing partnerships, but the program itself is going well. We're working well with Ivy Tech. We're getting people certified in white belt. And overall, it's a very successful program. So we're doing really well, and we're thankful for the opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're pretty pleased with how the program's going. We, John Bush, probation officer in our department, and I, we first kind of discussed this and conceptualized it. We thought having 100 individuals involved in the program would be a success. Brad Bookout was kind of part of those conversations early on as well. And so at this point, to have 157 after the first quarter of this year's, we're on a good trajectory. So again, like Emily stated, we are looking for additional employment partners. So they could just contact the probation department, contact Emily, and we'd be happy to help service their employment needs.
Jeff, at one time, you and I were talking about this, expanding it to other type of employment. And the one thing I did stress is that we need to keep the benefits there. Have you gotten any leads at all on some different types?
Well, I mean, we're kind of seeing that change with the trends. For example, as the weather starts warming up, we're looking more at landscaping companies. That was one initially we hadn't really considered too much. Then there was a couple others that pest control, I think, was another area we hadn't really thought about. Emily, I don't know if there's others that we had considered, but we're really looking to kind of diversify more of the employers that we're working with. That helps find better opportunities for some of our individuals, because some folks aren't suited to work necessarily in a manufacturing environment.
That's why I was
so
thinking
they might
Ivy
do
Tech.
better with landscaping and so forth.
So we've actually added on, we're working with Pizza King now. So people who don't want to work in manufacturing, they can work in the restaurant service and industry, and that kind of ties in with Ivy Tech as well, since they have a culinary program. So if they kind of dip their toes in the water with Pizza King and they're like, hey, I want to expand my education into culinary, Ivy Tech is right there. We also have landscaping, as Jeff said. So we are slowly but surely expanding into different fields, which has been really nice for our clients and for our program.
But we do need their benefits.
Yes,
in
absolutely.
That program. So thank you very much.
Yep. And just again, this program, along with the IRACS program that's been going on now for close to a year out at the Justice Center, with some of the programming they're running in the jail through the Sheriff's Department, there's really a lot of good rehabilitative services going on within the criminal justice system here, which is crucial to reducing recidivism and folks staying in the system repeatedly. So there's a lot of good rehabilitative services going on locally in the Delaware County criminal justice system. So I think it's important, the commissioners realize that, and I think you all understand that, but the community understand that as well.
Jeff, I'd like to give that one testimony that I heard that I'm so proud of. A young man testified in a group meeting that he and his wife were so pleased that this past Christmas they were able to buy the toys instead of stealing them or taking them, stealing or selling drugs.
Right.
I mean, that is a good testimony.
Gainful employment is a great pro-social activity, as we call it in the probation world, and that really helps to reduce folks' likelihood to reoffend. So, thank you, Sherry, for sharing that. Okay, going into the juvenile electronic monitoring request, earlier this year, the community corrections personnel analyzed the cost of providing electronic monitoring services for juveniles here in Delaware County. There's an attachment in the packets I hand out. Over the past probably 10 years anyway, that cost has historically been paid through the Juvenile Probation Department through an annual grant we get from the state of Indiana that's called JDAI grant. Stands for Juvenile Detention Alternatives Initiative. Essentially, it's a initiative from the state level to reduce the use of secure detention for low risk, low level juvenile offenders, much like we do in the adult system with pretrial release. We had to deal with that for a number of years with the jail overcrowding situation. However, due to the rising cost of the monitoring services, some limitations that are placed on us by the Indiana Department of Corrections as to how we use that grant, as well as a reduction in the amount of local services that we have related to placement of youth over the past couple years. I'm here today to request that the commissioners consider absorbing the cost of the juvenile monitoring program. I believe there's several reasons to do this. Some of the key ones is that I think it'll improve the efficiency and resource allocation of those monies. By the commissioners kind of taking over this cost, what this will allow us to do. The grant we get from the state, the JDI grant's not a big grant. Usually it runs about $55,000 a year total, $40,000 of which can be spent on programming for juveniles. We are capped at 25% of that for electronic monitoring costs. So we are capped at $10,000 ultimately for electronic monitoring. We would like to, if the extra $10,000 became available for our grant, we could fund some additional community-based programming opportunities for kids, which are very much needed. We had, I think last year, past couple years, we fund anywhere from 10 to 15 different community-based programs that service youth. Some of those include TeenWorks, Concrete Rose, the Muncie Parks Department Youth Employment Program. We've provided funds to the Juneteenth celebration here in Delaware County, and a number of others. But we'd like to fund more. We had $128,000 worth of requests from the community for the $40,000 that we get. We really want to fund as many programs that are geared towards helping kids in the community as possible. I don't know if the commissioners have seen the recent report from the Indiana Youth Institute that assessed the needs and the risk of youth in our community, but it was quite alarming. And I would suggest anyone check that out. We are definitely seeing that on the juvenile side. The CDC released a report in mid-February regarding the mental health of youth in the country overall, and it also was quite alarming. There's a lot of kids that have a lot of needs out there, and they're struggling mightily. So I think those of us that maybe have grandkids or kids ourselves, we're seeing that and hearing that. So we need to do everything that we can to help support youth in our community, and the commissioners taking on this cost would do that. Additionally, the commissioners, already pay for the adult pretrial release program through the JRP, jail release program. So this would just, from my perspective, you be able to fold this in and kind of monitor that. In addition, the commissioners, the county executive body has the majority appointment power for the Community Corrections Advisory Board. I think it's something like 8 or 9 members total, which is a majority. So that way the commissioners could provide through their appointment power oversight and promote efficiencies in that regard. And additionally, over the long term, this will help to promote cost savings, even though there's a additional cost perhaps up front. Over the long term, this will allow the probation department to take those funds that would be freed up and allocate them for, like, for example, a jump program, but maybe for juveniles or other programmings to rehabilitate and support youth, and really kind of reduce the recidivism rates and hopefully keep kids from entering into the adult system in the long run. As you know, we've had some constraints locally on the local juvenile justice system with capacity at the detention center and the loss of emergency shelter. So this has put some additional strains on the system in our areas, especially when it comes to juvenile monitoring. I included some estimation of cost for you all as well, but this is just the beginning of this conversation. So I would just ask the commissioners, deliberate this or have some discussions, and we could have some further conversations in the future, either in this forum or through the Community Corrections Advisory Board. which Commissioner Riggin is a member.
So you're requesting roughly $20,000?
Yes, that number fluctuates, and there is some community corrections. Derek Bailey's here. That is based off the estimate of the most recent numbers, so I would suspect based off historical trends it'll be around there. However, due to the loss of the emergency shelter at the Youth Opportunity Center over the past 9 months or so, we've seen an increase in the use of the electronic monitoring program just because we have less options or less tools in our toolkit when it comes to placement. So the cost would estimate to be right in that area.
Since we have a new staff member, I think I'd like to table this and look at our edit monies to see how our balances
Yeah,
are doing.
I don't know of any place right now where we can take this. We'll have to look at it and see.
So,
Have you guys ever thought about absorbing this come budget time into your budget,
Well,
council? Because council's actually the finance people of the county. Just like the commissioners, our budget's like everybody else's budget. We come in, we present it, it gets cut, and we go through everything. So, like they said, we have to look within our budget just like everybody else does to try to find the funding that everybody comes up and asks us for.
right.
Because, like I said, we have to go to them. So, have you guys ever thought about this year during the budget time to adding this $20,000 into your budget to fund this program?
That's a great point, and the answer is yes. I mean, at this point, all options are on the table. We've had some internal staffings on this issue. The grant cycle begins in July. So it's trying to start these conversations now. I mean, there's a public safety element to that, which kind of falls under the executive, the local executive body in terms of oversight. But we will also have those conversations with the council as well. What we are also working on is we are working on developing a strategic plan for the local juvenile justice system comprehensively, and that's going to require everyone to kind of be a part of that. The issues that we're dealing with out there with youth in the community are multifaceted, they're complex, there's no easy solutions, and it's going to really require everyone in local government and mostly in the community as well to coordinate, collaborate, and work together to come up with some solutions, because I've worked in this field, close to 25 years, and the state that kids are in right now is the worst I have ever seen. Their mental health is in serious decline. There's a lot of good folks doing good work out in the community. They just need to be really supported and built up. And from my perspective as a government official, that's what we should do as much as possible. So so we'll be having further conversations with the council as well, but I would like to have everybody get on the same page on this and really kind of work in unison, because otherwise we're always going to be behind the 8 ball.
Yeah. Well, it's either you guys could put it in your budget, or when we go to present our budget, we could add this in, possibly contractual services into ours to help you guys some way. I want people to understand that we're not the fiscal body of the county. We don't give raises. We don't do anything like that. That's the county council. Sometimes we get blamed for things like that, but we don't do it. And we have a lot of people that comes up here, and ask us for money. We're really not the money people. That's the county council. So
Right.
I'd like to work with you on this and either absorb it somehow into our budget for next year, or work with you to place it into your budget or community corrections, because you are right. I mean, the mental problems that we're having to deal with now, shootings and everything else, we need to help our youth and do something for them.
Good. Thank you.
All right, next we have the interlocal agreement, Stairway 32 Bridge. John?
Yes, this is an interlocal agreement at the request of the city of Muncie. Evidently, the city of Muncie is going to be receiving State Road 32 from the state of Indiana through the city. after the state does some improvement work on it. And they had just updated and fixed the bridge over the White River there on the East Jackson Street near the wire mill. And the state has requested that the city take control of that particular bridge. Under the state law, the county is in control of all bridges, and there were some particular concerns that Angie raised about making sure that inspections got done timely and that sort of thing. So what we've drafted is an interlocal agreement to, in essence, lease to the city or give to the city this particular bridge on now State Road 32, Jackson Street, to the city for their use and control for the next 50 years. And they're responsible for all maintenance on the bridge. They have to get it inspected. They've got to follow the federal highway requirements for inspection. And we vetted this with the city attorney. They've made some changes to it, and now it's in ready form to be signed by the commissioners and then sent off to the mayor for approval.
Angie's been working on this as well.
Yes.
What's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to accept the interlocal agreement.
Second.
A motion to approve the agreement for the State Road 32 bridge and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Ms. Henry.
Yes. Thank you for everybody that worked on that. Next, we have the lease agreement for the rail spur.
Yes, as you heard me mention at the time of the public hearing, this is a lease agreement with SRM to lease the rail spur for a period of about 6 years, and then with an option to purchase. The total price that would be received by Delaware County is $3.5 million. What's also important about this particular lease is that SRM has already pledged and got approval to add $9.5 million in infrastructure improvements by building a silo for holding cement mix. They will be utilizing the rail spur, and the other thing is that this turns some county property into tax-paying property. You have the entire rail spur, all these parcels that will be utilized under the taxes. And this is, I've worked with Brad on this one, and this is the way to do economic development. You've got a reputable company that comes in and is willing to purchase some infrastructure that we've had struggles trying to lease and turn it into a thing for the county that will generate not only jobs but also income to the county and all its residents. So I think this is a win-win for everybody.
It's your pleasure.
I'll make a motion, we accept the agreement.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the lease agreement, the rail lease agreement, and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Ms. Henry.
Yes. Next, we have Lori Jesse.
I think we're gonna table this.
You gonna table that?
Yeah, because they submitted a different contract,
Okay.
so we're gonna figure out why they changed the contract on us. So.
Okay, very good. We'll table that.
Whatever we weren't happy with.
But the original contract didn't include this building.
Okay,
So I went back to them to get this included, and for some reason it's some completely new contract, so
okay,
we're
Very
trying to
good.
figure out why they did that.
very good. Thank you, Ed. Next, we have, I haven't missed anything, have I? Next, we have ordinances for first reading. Ordinance 2023-012 to amend the Delaware County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance.
Actually, this probably should be for the second reading.
Yeah.
Good morning. I'm Kathy Van Ice from Ashton Land Surveyor at 325 West Washington Street here in Muncie. This is for a second reading of a parcel of land adjacent to and south of 3605 South Whitney Road here in Muncie. We are asking that we get it rezoned from an R2 to an R3 and be combined into one parcel of land. There's a little bit of a history to this property. In August of 2022, the husband and wife by the last name of Lee purchased this property with the intention of thinking that they owned both parcels. They bought one which is lot 1 in Old Wheeling, I forgot, this town subdivision, and then they bought the meets and bounds description on contract. The problem is, they are in two different zoning. One is R2 and one is R3. They need to be able to combine this because the R2 division is not to the county ordinance. It's too small. It's only 3 acres, and we need to have a larger tract. The next, in February of 2023, they paid off their contract, and then they went to record it at the courthouse and combine here in the auditor's office, and that's when this happened, when they found out. Our intention is to try to get it rezoned so that it can be combined into one parcel. And if you have any questions, I'm willing to answer.
Are there any questions?
No, I'll make a motion, we adopt ordinance 2023-012.
Second.
We have a motion to adopt the ordinance and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have department heads or elected officials. Any department heads or elected officials need to speak?
I got something, Shannon.
Good.
You know, we started off about Jane.
Yeah.
John, with her putting so much time in out at the fairgrounds, I thought about this and I didn't know if the other two commissioners what their thoughts would be, but like the grandstands, if we could name that Jane Laster's Memorial Grandstand, at least with the work she's put in out there, I think we should at least do something for her out there at the grandstands. And I don't think it's named anything, and I think that would be appropriate.
Yeah.
Are
I
we
don't-
able to?
I don't know if it's named anything or not. Pam, do you know if that's named anything?
I don't think it is, nope. Absolutely, I can adopt a resolution, or I can draft a resolution for your adoption to, name that, because it's your property out there, the commissioners, the county's property, so you can do anything you want to out there.
Because I know she's been out there forever, and I just think it would be appropriate to have her name on something out there. And with the grandstands, I think that would be perfect.
Are you putting that in motion?
I'll make that a motion.
Second.
We have a motion to name the grandstands out at the fairgrounds. You want to name it the Jane Lassiter grandstands, or in
Grandstands.
memory of Jane Lassiter? And we do need to get some kind of a. I would like to put something up out there stating that. So let's work on that too. So we have a motion to
Get a sign. and
yeah.
Put up there. Yep.
We have a motion to approve that and a second. Roll call. Ed.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
I will put together a formal resolution for the next meeting, okay?
Thank you.
And then second, I would like to have BW Construction next month to come in and give us an update on the mental health and addiction facility, if
Very good.
you guys are all right with that.
Yep.
Yep.
Anybody else? All right, we have the payment of claims of $1,738,151.63.
So move.
Second.
A motion to pay the claims and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes. Is there a sign-up sheet out there, Denise? Yeah. Tommy, could you go out there and see if there's anyone signed up on the
When I
sign-up
came in,
sheet?
I didn't see anybody on there.
Okay.
Should be. I put something.
Oh, did you put one up here?
I handed it to Denise.
Oh, it was Rick, was the only one.
Rex.
Rick.
Mr.
Yes, sir.
Answer, you want to come up and
Oh,
speak?
Rick.
Pardon?
Would you like to come up and speak now?
I think I did sign up. Again, Rick Yenser, newsman, author. I'll just reiterate what I said before. When the tax rates came out last month, most of the tax districts, especially in Yorktown, went up. We're paying a lot more for property that gets reassessed about any given year, and we don't see a lot of improvement. I think it's time to grant some local property tax relief like the federal government and state government did with income taxes, because there doesn't seem to be any stop of raising property taxes. or indebting homeowners, businesses, industries with massive debt on money that you don't have but you still spend. So come budget time here this summer and fall, you might want to think about some kind of property tax relief for people that pay the bills. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to recess.
Second.
We have a motion to recess and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Ms. Henry.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Recess.